So let's rejoin. We're going to start with D3. A couple of these are really pretty straightforward. Not a lot to them. This would be one of those real straightforward areas. Program information in the public domain. Of course, we have the Emerson website. That includes many things. We also have various publications, PDFs. Of course, students can access, or anyone can access, the public can access the catalog. There's research resources that can be used as far as gaining information, email, student portal. We can look at the learning management system. We can go to technology support, enrollment management, the advising team. I mean, there's a whole variety of places that the public can come to gain information on our courses and programs. Okay, D4, faculty and staff. Now this, again, maybe more specifically why some of you are here, and when the visiting team meets you, they may ask you questions about D4. And I believe that the chair mentioned this on our phone call, we need to know what one another does, if that helps. So that's another reason I wanted you here. If you're not a faculty member or a program coordinator, that's okay. You still need to know what's going on with different staff departments, how they're helping students, how that supports project management, courses and programs, et cetera, et cetera. So staff support, we have student services offices, Garland and Frisco. We have both those directors here with us today. So they support and supplement the programs and provide needed services to the adult student. So the supervision of those offices, the academic dean. Now again, some of the titles in here, this report was written and it refers to 2016-17, 17-18 time period. That's another thing to remember. Of course, they're going to be on campus real time in a few weeks, so they're going to meet you, but the things in the report refer to things during that 2-year window of time. So, and here's why I say it, just to maybe fend off one question. They're not going to come and ask us about federal financial aid. We did not offer federal financial aid in 2016-17, 17-18. They may ask us about Pell Grants or other aid. We did have those back then. So the things that are in the report were relevant for the period under review, which is helpful. They're not going to ask us about things maybe that we've very, very recently started.
Would it be epidemics that say we now offer financial aid?
I say that we don't mention any of it unless we're asked. And let's not divulge things that would lead to more questions. Again, my fear in that is if they say, or if we say we now have that, they may say, oh, well, how are the faculty trained in that? And then we'd say, well, we haven't really had any training in that. So they're going to see it. Yeah. Just keep it down the middle. Yeah. So we provide information sessions for students, registration services, academic advising, student account services, veteran administration benefits, international student advising. It's available to all students, regardless of location, and for online students. Each fiscal year, student service personnel establish attainable goals. Different systems are used to do that. Goals include answering student questions accurately, timely, certifying enrollment, forms, working with benefits, working with foreign students, etc. Moving to faculty, just so everyone in the training knows, full-time faculty and part-time faculty, also a critical piece of the equation. Those members are mainly responsible for academic programs with quality and integrity. There are times when full-time faculty members mentor part-time faculty members. I'd say this is especially true of brand new teachers, people entering the teaching setting. Full-time faculty participate in the hiring process of part-time faculty at times, for sure, looking at their qualifications. In fact, there's a standing committee on faculty credential, and that's one of the roles that they have, is to evaluate prospective faculty in the interview process. Full-time faculty is also involved in evaluation of part-time faculty. Part-time faculty as well as full-time members are evaluated every year. During that time, there was the vice president title. Of course, Dr. Hill is doing that as academic dean now. So it's an interesting question. If you're asked as a staff member, is everyone evaluated? Oh, yes. The faculty, full-time and part-time, all the staff members are evaluated annually. That's a process that's gone through, and importantly so. So evaluation of all staff and faculty have certain purposes. Among them, high academic standards, making sure that we're implementing improvements. I know from doing it with staff that worked with us and faculty, the question I ask everyone every year was, what are we doing well? What can we get better at? What can we do better? And the findings from many of those answers led to initiatives as possible to bring about some change. The faculty provide oversight of academic programs. This is a direct quote. All these are direct quotes right out of the report. So the faculty has a shared responsibility of overseeing the academic programs of the institution. In particular, full-time faculty has a direct oversight role in each program. So you can see what is being said. The faculty in general entirely oversee academically the programs in a certain way, but then there are faculty members that directly oversee programs very specifically. And so the BBA and MBA programs are overseen by Dr. Darnell and Dr. Stevenson. Now, this is during this period of time, because if the visiting team says, "Hey, Dr. Stevenson, how is the BBA going right now?" You'd say, "Well, I'm not the coordinator of that program now since we have the new Agile, But during that time, and that's where we kind of reach back, and we have assessment reports, we have other documentation. So they're going to expect things do change, people do change roles or responsibilities or whatnot. But for this period of review, that's where all the artifact support's coming from. And I didn't show it here, but there's wonderful write-ups in the report about the skill and quality and expertise of Dr. Stevenson and Dr. Darnell. So I got to toot the horn for them. These guys are world class, and they are. And here's all the things that they've done and why they're excellent coordinators. And tip the hat. Good job, guys. Good. So students, now we're to D5. Again, students are a focus. Students need to be a focus for the accreditation to be attained. So we have admissions policies. Again, this is maybe for Hannah, this will be her area. Working with student records, working with transfer students, working with how students are admitted. That is, again, a direct quote, and I believe some of this is in our catalog and our organizational documents. So the university publishes admission policies consistent with its mission to provide, attract, and inform potential students looking for quality, relevant, academically sound education and project management. Notice the second sentence, and it's almost like the Apostle Paul wrote it. It's very long, like 2-paragraph sentence. But as a private institution, Amberton University has a philosophy of admission that grants admission when, in the judgment of university officials, the applicant can benefit from Amberton's educational programs. In other places in the catalog and elsewhere, it's a privilege, not a right, to be able to attend the university. So it's a privilege to be able to attend. So it's a selective process, and a process that is, you could say, in a certain way, up to the university, not in a discriminatory fashion, by the way. So university does not discriminate and does not stop anyone from applying. It's like when I used to be a banker and do lending. Everyone can apply for the loan, but the bank does make a judgment call or decision on if a loan's going to be made. If a person wants to attend the university, and there's more in this section that elaborates, it is possible for us to allow a student to come in without a huge number of hours of academic work. But hopefully this is an exception and rare and a case by case. More often, students would need to have rather sufficient amount of work because we're a junior, senior level, almost completion undergrad university and largely a graduate entity. So these are things for us to be knowledgeable about. As you all know, I don't think I'm saying anything new here. We've taken out some of the wording about age, and we've also ramped up the wording on working adult, which you already know all about. Student support services, some of this is a bit of a repeat, but it has a little bit different wording in it. So we support students with services, programs, and activities to meet their needs. Because we know the student is balancing work, they're balancing family, social obligation, et cetera, along with attempting education. So academic support services is Gina and other folks like that, enrollment management, and advising, Hadari, Monique, their teams, marketing, and their team, recruitment, Glenn and their team, facility support services, Brent, TJ, others, library services, including the whole staff there, and a myriad of other departments do work to support the students, technology support. So it's not just one person trying to do it. It's also multifaceted beyond just directly the academic space. So the academic division is not the only one that supports the student. The student is supported in many ways. And more could be added. In fact, I had a student this past lecture class that may have a disability that's documented and needs help. Well, and he's talked to Dr. Lloyd about that, who's the university official that helps the student with that type of a service. So there's some things that are not listed here, but definitely I'd say all of us are here to help support the student. So academic support, I'm not going to repeat all this. You can read some of it. It's what's happening with Garland and Frisco campuses as far as working with students, how we help them, why we help them. We also, and I know Hannah knows this part of it too, we're trying to work with, if a student says they have a significant amount of experience, well, we have experiential learning that they could apply for at the undergrad level. Well, good. And so that could become something that goes toward them earning their degree. If they've been a branch manager at a location or something for 20 years, yeah, there may be a course or two at the undergrad level that they could do the experiential learning portfolio for that. So there's services provided to them that can help them with that. We're trying to make the most of their experience and take into consideration everything that they know as far as already transcripted academic work and also relevant professional work that can be translated over to the academic space. So advising, you guys work on the front lines with that. Utilize, even back then, different systems. There's maybe a little bit different way some of that's done now in the last few years. Helping students, helping them understand the handbook, work within that, understand our policies, how they can pay for their education, on and on and on and on. Student account services, again, how can they pay? Is there a payment plan they can use? Well, sure there is. A lot of students don't realize that. Here's what you do. Here's what's involved. Registration services, advising. I know there's some tools that are used with the students, degree plans and kind of mapping, rudimentary mapping for them. Back then, but I mean now the students can do it completely online. Back then we didn't have the full online available, we do now. Veteran benefits, you can read that one. International students, again, we provide and have trained staff that have got the expertise to help our international students, which there are international students in both BBA and MBA project management degrees. Yeah. Student retention, so working with trying to maintain student population and enrollment. Students are contacted regularly. Sometimes that's via physical mail, via email, phone call, other methods. we could take some time and let the advisors, am I leaving out, there's more ways that you guys contact, maybe constant contact, or there's different tools being used, other things. Any comments you guys have there? Okay, yeah, that'd be something, be an improvement, more centrally. Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, and again, this is hypothetical, so I don't know, I'm saying this more maybe from ACBSB than PMI. If the visiting team says, because we say in the report and we say here, all students have access to advising, and I guess in a loose way, all students are advised and contacted. True in the way we're saying it, but if they come back and say, we'd like to see for each of the project management BBA and MBA students how exactly each of these units or each of these students this is happening. I think, until you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's targeted campaigns and responding to students. Are we at the space where all BBA or MBAs, there's efforts that work as far as like our initiative and we track what's going on, or is it more blanketed or general to like the whole? Okay. Right. Right. Yeah. So this is back to what I said in the very introduction. This is an important space to be highly respectful to the visiting question, but also to be transparent and honest. So because I know with ACVSP, if they get into a specific scenario that says your support services do this for this population of students in what way? Well, if it is general and it's to everyone, and it is an open door and everyone has the opportunity to reach out to, so in that way we're highly responsive, we're very, that's the way that we want to, make sure that we're addressing it. In other words, we don't want to say something that we're not doing, because what they'll do, I guarantee you ACBSB will, they'll say, if you're saying you're doing that, show us with each of those students how you're doing that. And so, good. Okay, I'm not.
That's good or bad, but I'm not.
No, and that's part of the reason that we're having the training, because I don't want anyone to feel like this is not a gotcha campaign by an evaluator. Instead, as they're asking us questions, this is an opportunity for us to improve, or they're definitely to meet the quality that they're looking for. So we want to be honest, respectful, open, and in the findings, if they say, well, it looks like you guys' program would really improve if you did X, Y, and Z. We're paying to be a member institution, and we do want to get that feedback to get better. So if they think so, we want to know that. Yeah. 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 We have that unique item where some of the staff have migrated through almost cross-sectionally, and that's great because you have a sense. And some of those things maybe have changed a little bit, what Glenn does, right? But now here, and I won't belabor this point too far, we got more to cover. This is talking about our student population. I know, having talked to Dr. Roop often and having done a lot of the articulations before he took on this last wave of it and got a lot of that done, articulations is about prospective students or concurrent students. So a question may be asked, how are you helping out students that are enrolled with you and elsewhere? Well, hey, we've built these articulations and we encourage it, and we don't discourage a student from taking BBA class with us and taking a class at Collin or where, that's fine, and here's the arrangements that we have. So is that a service to the student? Well, it helps them get their degree more quickly. I think it's an advantage. So we did. We've always had articulations. Yeah, articulations have been updated. When I first came in 2015 and 2016, all the articulations were redone. In the last batch, are they complete or close? So yeah, and they're standing. Some of the older articulate, they don't have an expiration necessarily. So yeah, we've offered this definitely during this period, and that was something in the SACS report too. Yeah, and that's an advantage for the student. If we get this last point, have you improved your programs? Well, we've tried to improve students coming into or out of them as well. I guess there's a word that I'm looking for. I'll think of it. Moving on, library services, excellent library, enhanced services. Students can call in, can chat, can talk to the librarians, email the librarians. We have, especially in the project management space, offerings in online databases. Our physical catalog can be also examined in electronic books as well as physical books attained by BBA and MBA students. Now, in the report, there's several other paragraphs talks about the size of our collection, the square footage of space, and on and on and on. And I know the visiting team, when we get to Frisco, we have the computer lab. There's not a library there, but in the computer lab, they have access to hundreds of thousands of EBSCO articles and ebooks, and yeah, it's technology support. So Brent and Administrative Services is overseeing technology support personnel. They help the student in the learning experience. If the student has questions, and as the statement's made here, technology is intertwined in every area of the university's operation. So technology is a common point of touch that drives what the university does for the student. So access to resources, email, student portal, and again, we've given examples to the visiting team of all these different things, how they can sign on, how they access this or that, how they have a student ID, yada, 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 yada. Financial resources, D6. So, question? Yeah. Well, it's a great question. I think the way, and I may yield to Dr. Hill on this, I think the way that we would address enrollment size in courses or even in program, that data would have to be requested or attained. Yeah, so in other words, let's say they will ask this, because I remember when I sent the original report that shows how many students we say are in the program and how many have earned a degree in which year. That rate is way off. Like the BBA, I think I'd have to look, I'll look at it, but it's single digits to a bigger number of students we believe are trying to earn the degree. So to address, if small class size or whatever it is, what is that having to do with persistence or retention? Or, yeah, you just have to present. If you're asked that question, that data would have to be requested from Brent or the president to see, because, yeah, we just have to request that. That'd probably be the best answer. Yeah. Right. Yeah, and there's a general comment, but it is a rather common concern of faculty and staff to see how effective different efforts are as far as like what's happening with that population of students. Are they coming back? Are they laying out? And definitely it's spoken often about students having things come up or they're in or out. But I think if I was an evaluator for the evaluating team, all those reasons or symptoms that we're giving them, they're probably going to say, well, that's true at our school too. That's fine. That does happen, yes. But they're still going to want to see the trend line of what's going on with the actual populations in the program. So if you get asked a question you don't know, just say, well, I don't know the answer to that. Because they may say, wow, most BBA project managements look like this with retention or grad rates. Yours are above it. If it's above it, how are y'all doing so well? Well, don't make up an answer, but you might say, well, you think from a course level or program coordinator level, but we may defer. I'd recommend us just deferring to the people that have the data on that. Yeah. But academic support is ongoing, and it's even, I would say, continuing to develop and strengthen financial resources. As you all know, the institution has strong financial resources. There's fiscal year budgets that are laid out. There is a planning process, and I guess let's look at this. So annually, the university follows a zero-based budgeting process that includes the entire university in the budget planning process. And so the involvement in the planning process is more of, and you guys get it, the same documents that we all do, that says if we have an idea, if we have a question, if we have something to contribute, there's a collection of inputs that work their way into the planning process. So again, and having been to the PMI conferences pretty often the last several years, if the team says, Blair, you were over the BBA project management, tell us how you handled the budget for that program. Well, your answer is going to have to be, I didn't handle a budget for the program because there's not a budget for that program. There's an academic budget, but then again, so if it's things you don't know, it's okay to say, like, don't feel pressure, because every school does it different ways. Same thing on the hiring and everything else, or scheduling of courses and all that. There's inputs. Those inputs we want to definitely evidence. When there's a committee or there's a faculty meeting or there's a discussion and things said or minutes of meetings that move different places, that's all important evidence. Institutions that can't show that run into a real problem when they're evaluated like we're about to be. So I think the fact that we've got, oh Lord, a whole bunch of stuff, could we do better? We all, absolutely. Every person, every school, we can all do better. Are we doing really good? I think there's a lot of things that we show real strong connection to and points on. So the Board of Trustees is aware of the budget. Of course, they approve it. An audit's done every year. So all those things become documentary aspects. And number 6 is kind of like the earlier one on public domain. It's pretty much a statement with a couple things to support it. And those questions may be asked more of Brent, the president, as far as financial minutes. Aha! Now okay, this is a big one as far as support and stuff, because there's a bunch of reports and other things that support it. But let's look at program improvement. I mean, not only do we need programs and programs that meet their threshold of quality, those programs need to be improving. And of course, the subsections of D7 say, how are they improving? Show us how they're doing that. Show us this or that. So examples would be our division faculty and the project management faculty in particular review and revise things on a regular basis. In fact, probably the biggest one happened back when we went full PMBOK 6. That was an undertaking. How many months, guys? 2, 3 months? 4 months? I think it was September, October that we met in here, and it was January, February when we made the motions to make the changes. Yeah. And like the last point says, I'm hopping around here, like the last point says, we saw from the students, the marketplace, and elsewhere a need for an agile program, which that was created, including quite a few new courses and et cetera. So curriculum committee does review to provide improvement. The assessment process has a category use of results, and I say we just let Dr. Hadashell loose on them. It's like use of results. We're like, Dr. Hadashell, just tell, you can just let go on it. And because we do a good job, and now, as y'all all know, and I think this has been a joint effort, but Dr. Hadashell's been so helpful in it, is moving us from catching up to assessment and assessment culture being an afterthought to being much more a forethought and present thought and being ahead of the planning process. So we already have a lot of things in mind, and we're using that knowledge with the way we're assessing the courses and programs. So, speaking about that and how we do it, and some of these will be almost more conversation pieces than like some formal part of the report. Even though I tried to document, or we tried to document best we could, all the different ways that we do that. It could even be small things, but definitely programs are improving. Okay, well, let me give us space. It's 12:42. Are there questions about D1 through 7? This is certainly just the highlights. The report's much longer, and the supporting stuff is really pretty robust. I move fast on purpose, but not in a way to make it unimportant. Everything I covered is very important, with a lot more behind it than I was able to talk about. As I move to the questions and tips, let me reiterate something. By gaining PMI GAC, we become a rather elite institution and programs. There's not a lot of schools that have this designation. In fact, and you guys helped me, I know they talked about it in the last PMI meeting in October last year, I think it is under 200 GAC programs, something like that. It's not, we've just jumped way up as far as what we're offering, how we'll be recognized, or the circles we'll be able to be known in will really help us out a lot. This helps in a huge way with prospective students, knowing that we're GAC aligned is a big deal. So that's I'm just pausing to say that, gosh, in the middle of all this work and what we're attempting, this is part of why we're doing it. One, we believe we're this good, and I know we are. But two, it really will distinguish us in a way that we haven't been able to do that yet. Will that help you as advisors? Absolutely. Will it help us with assessment? Sure. There's tons of support and help. Will it help us with some of the way we transcript or work with students, or on and on? Sure, there'll be some help with our pedagogy, with our curriculum, definitely. Yes. Significant. Yeah. 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 There's not too many other GAC schools, so yeah, and again at the conferences, there's maybe 2 or 3 dozen universities there, and of course there's the UCLAs and the whoever. But of any of the top 100 universities in the United States, not only are we a powerhouse, our price point, hey, it's not $1,000+ per credit hour here. It's $800 a course. That alone, as long as we look really presentable, that ought to stimulate a ton. I'm just telling you. Yeah. 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 So for our MBA at 12 to 14,000 compared to 40, yeah. So our credential is strong. Let's get into now. This is some tips and questions they presented. So I'm going to read the Q&A. Then when I conclude, if there's any other questions you have, we'll take them. So what's the mission of the BBA? Remember, we need to distinguish it. Answer: to provide career professionals opportunity to develop project management best practices, as well as business communication, leadership skills, and to manage projects and teams for the purpose of helping organizations achieve their strategic goal. It's fundamental. it is, we could say that this is gives us the practical base for practice and effectiveness. And then the team may ask us, so if you're talking to a BBA student versus an MBA student, how is the conversation different? Well, the BBA student, we're going to help you with the skills and things you need to enter and to succeed even into lower to middle management within project management within any industry. That's a broad, robust. Now, if it's the MBA student, we're going to help you become a leader, an effective, strategic thinker, and impact a global setting with this. This is very dynamic. You should be able to take on nearly any sort of dynamic project that emerges. You should be able to take it on. You will fully integrate and apply PMBOK and skills necessary. So it's a whole nother integration level versus kind of the interface that the BBA has. That's what we're looking at. So as you can see in the answer for the MBA one here, again, it's to provide professionals with competencies to succeed, but as leaders in the organization. So the responsibility level, the consequence, everything goes up with this level of learning. So the graduate program provided an opportunity to acquire understanding of the roles and the knowledge, et cetera, et cetera. But then again, it's to step it up to plan, execute, control, and not just do it because this is something we can brag about. We don't, and I've got a student right now in this situation. It's not just a local or regional company. We're talking about one of the students I have right now that's working for Siemens as a project manager is all over the place. The guy's all over the world. So it's a global interface of project management skill with that MBA. So, and I think that student hopefully will be here as one of the students on the team. That's what we need because it's not just someone with a Garland mom and pop shop that wants to, and it'll train them too. I'm not making light of that. That can be very, very important. Equality in business is not necessarily the same as size of business, so we just want to share that. What will graduate BBA project managers be able to do? Again, the utility. They'll be able to demonstrate knowledge-based solutions to business problems, synthesize, again, SWOT analysis, opportunity, threat, internal, external. Look at risk, quality management, and again, explain project life cycle, assess leadership, communication, etc., and have the ability to produce project management output. So that can be very functional, very hireable, very, very able to go into the workforce as a BBA. At the MBA, what will they be able to do against the higher order, a little bit more involved? They're able to clearly and concisely, there's that word again, concise, integrate, apply technical expertise of project management tools within the organization, analyze knowledge, strategic role of PM for competitive advantage. A lot of these are stemming right off our mission and vision statement for the programs. And at this level, they should be able to conduct relevant research. The undergrad level may know how to go and encounter and read and analyze the literature. These students should be able to go and actually do the research. Again, that's why research methods is a required course in the program. Questions or thoughts there? So difference between, I'm not trying to just repeat this over and over. I can guarantee, based on the conversation with the chair, I can guarantee you they're going to ask all of us separately and together these questions. So if there's one question I know they're going to ask us, is the difference between these two. And yeah. The only changes I saw were changes to schedule. I believe the one gentleman had to fly out early. I never saw any additional, which again, assumptions can be not good to make. But assuming not hearing back that there were no further questions is my take on that.
Jonathan, it's just, brief wording. You're going to be able to address real estate knowledge.
Yep.
And have the ability to, like a workshop window, to go into an operation and function well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So undergrad, entry level to mid management, they should be fully competent, able to go do it, be effective, fully use the PMBOK in practice. So if I can only use two phrases, an undergrad is entry level and fully capable.
Yeah.
A grad is advanced and integrated. Like that, advanced meaning like they can jump in the middle of the dynamic movement of project management and succeed very well in the leadership role. The lower level is completely seaworthy. Their boat's going to float. They can navigate the waters. This other group, they're going to really go in there and have a whole different level. It's a whole different experience, and it needs to be. It can't be the same. It can't be the same. Again, that's why, and I'm kind of beating a dead horse now. That's why when we use terms like coherence or prerequisite, the student has got to go through things in a certain order because it should build upon itself. If we're saying you need to know this before this over here before you can do that over there, you can't let them do the third one first. It's completely unfair to that person, especially if we said by design they've got to do it this way. So, a person that wants an MBA, they need to be ready for and already have an undergraduate degree and be ready to go that direction. A BBA, even if they're changing majors, it's going to help them focus compared to general business BBA, management BBA. The project management BBA is going to help them in a focused way, entry level, et cetera, et cetera.
Can you look at the big picture here?
Yep.
I mean, just let's focus on the big picture. This is, that is no different than any other academic thing in town. In market management,
Right.
what I do, I give them the fundamentals to go in, understand the situation, why real world situations. Great. Oh yeah, that's the concept that's what's real world. At the graduate level, now we're beginning to more about the complexity,
Right.
research based.
Right.
Let's find the issues I can handle in multitasking.
Right. Right. So there's demonstration at the BBA level, but the type of demonstration at the grad level is altogether more dynamic and complex, and it has to be more well orbed and the whole thing. Like what the instructors are looking for, and you guys both taught the grad level project management as well as undergrad. One's getting everyone familiar with it and able to use it. The other one is like much more, I think, applied, much more challenging. Is it now? Again, having taught at the doctoral level, is it doctoral level? Not necessarily. That would be a lot more heavy duty, and their need to know a whole lot more diverse aspects of it would, and even create some things. That's what we'd be looking for. So we're not doctoral yet. I don't know if we'll go that way or not, but thankfully PMI can handle that with the accreditation, and there's schools that have that. So it's good. Are there other questions or thoughts? Has this been helpful at all? I don't know if it's okay. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. Probably tonight or tomorrow, I will email a PowerPoint presentation to everyone. Even the people that are going to be watching it will have the link for the video that'll go out with it, the agenda that'll go, the D2.6 items. I'll send those tables just so you can see them. If you want access to the full report, I guess we would need to request that from the president or Brent if we want the PDF, so everyone can see it before they come. That might be. Is there any interest in that? Okay. So I mean, if you're having trouble sleeping at night, I was just thinking, if you can get to 2 a.m. reading the self-assessment, and you're doing really good. Well, I want to say thank you for being here. I know it's a lot of work. It's a worthy effort. It cannot be done alone. It can only be done together. And I wouldn't want to be on any other team doing it. So thanks for being here. Thanks for participating. If you need me in the meantime or Dr. Hill, let us know.